Hey, mom friends, wherever or however you're listening to this podcast right now, you should take a moment and check out Stitcher. Those of you listening on Stitcher already get why. For those of you who don't know it, Stitcher is a free podcast app for iPhone and Android and home to over 260,000 podcasts, including Mom to Life Plus Life. Wow. Stitcher also has smart recommendations, playlists, a car mode, and even a sleep timer. While the Stitcher app is free to use, they also offer a premium subscription service called Stitcher Premium that has exclusive bonus episodes from top shows, exclusive shows from top hosts, and ad-free listening for all for $4.99 a month or $34.99 a year. Pretty cheap. So, if you're into podcasts like Mom to Wife Plus Life, comedy, true crime, pop culture, sports, music, those types of things, to stitcher.com/premium to sign up today and use promo code WifeLife. Again, go to stitcher.com/premium and use the promo code WifeLife on the.
Hi, welcome to Mom to Wife Plus Life. This podcast is all about motherhood and life, and of course, everything in between. So if you're ready for some hot mess topics, rants, and life lessons, let's dive right in. Hi, you guys. Welcome back to Mom to Wife Plus Life. I'm your host, Jen, and we are in season 2. Can you believe it? I'm so excited. I have a special guest on today. Her name is Vismaya, and she is a gratitude gangster and coach and motivational. I'm just going to let her introduce herself. Vismaya?
Hi, how are you? So happy to be here. So I am Vismaya Rubin, founder of Living in Gratitude Today, teacher, speaker, best-selling author, but my favorite role is that of a gratitude gangster. What?
Love it. So I know that we're kind of in this space of lockdown. So if you could just briefly explain how we can have gratitude during this time, because I know that's what people are kind of searching for and looking for, to say the good and the outlight, the light of everything. So if you could just touch on that a little bit.
Boy, we're jumping right in, huh?
Yes, we're going to dive in.
Yeah, so, great question. And what I've noticed online and on social media, that you have people who are either doom and gloom, this is what's happening, lock yourselves in your house, don't move, the world is coming to an end. And then you have on the other side everybody who's like, see the light, see the love, see the good. And where I stand is really in the middle. As far as a gratitude practice, I believe that we need to acknowledge what's going on. We need to acknowledge our own fears. We need to acknowledge what's happening for us. Yesterday I got online and I was doing I did a video and I was talking about I had a little bit of anxiety. So rather than saying, oh, that's not happening, that's not there, that's not what's so, I addressed it, I embraced it, I talked about it. And then from that space, I was able to go into a space of gratitude. So we need to pay attention to what's going on for us, whether it's we're fearful of whatever it is. And really compartmentalize that into one area. And I've said this before, that gratitude is like CPR. So when we compartmentalize that and realize that not every aspect of our life is falling apart necessarily, it may be certain aspects of our life we're able to breathe a little bit. But again, we need to acknowledge those spaces. We need to give that, we need to pay attention to it, because what you resist persists. And if you constantly push things down and shove them into, a box, what happens? The box explodes. So if you're feeling sad, acknowledge it. If you're feeling frustrated, that's okay. And then find things that you can do to shift that. And like I was saying, the other day I got online and I said, look, I am the gratitude gangster and I am feeling frustrated today. I'm feeling a little anxious. I can feel it boiling in my body. So I turned the music on and I danced right on social media, because it gave me pleasure. It was something that released things for me. So know what's going on, address what's going on, allow yourself to feel it, and then what are some things that you can do that will allow you to release that energy?
Gotcha. I love it. Yeah, I mean, I've acknowledged because like in my household, I have 2 introverts. So they're pretty like, oh yeah, we've been waiting for this, like not going outside, not going anywhere. Cool. And me, I'm like, wait a minute, does this mean I'm never gonna have interaction with humans again? And it's kind of worrying me because I'm like, okay, well, let me find an excuse to go to the store. But then I have like anxiety too. So it's like, I don't want to go to the store. I don't want to deal with people. So it's like, oh, I'm like stuck in this rock in a hard place type of situation. But I did get on live today on Facebook and Instagram. And I just kind of told people, I was like, don't panic because panic just leads to fear and fear leads to more panic. So you're kind of working yourself up and, you're getting all anxious for really, I mean, probably something that's minor that's being blown out of proportion, like you said. And I also said that, like, check on your mom friends, check on your friends, because we're all going a little cuckoo with our kids at home. But
Right.
I kind of want to dive back into, so what is it that you do? As far as your career, your business, what is it that you do?
So I used to be a high school teacher in Miami for 20 years. So I understand what it's like having teenagers around you all the time. And we have a new appreciation from what I'm seeing a lot of my friends say for teachers now.
Mm-hmm.
So I was, a high school teacher for 20 years. I taught writing, I taught character development, I taught a math class. And throughout my career, I've always done things with character development, even when I taught math, even when I taught writing. And it really just transitioned into the Living in Gratitude Today movement, which is what I do now full time. I speak all around the country about gratitude, and I have an online movement. And the goal is to get people, is to share with people all of the tools and the techniques and the research that I've done on gratitude, so that when people are going through trying situations or unpleasant situations, they have a set of tools that they can actually dive into and say, okay, I need to pull this one out today. I need to pull that one out today, so that they're able to pull themselves out of that space of feeling, stuck or feeling like the world is ending. And I, again, going back to what we're experiencing right now, there are people with very real fears. They're not working, they're home. And I get it. And as an entrepreneur, I totally understand that. All my events, when I go out to do live events, they're all canceled. So I understand that. But like you said, to stay in that space isn't healthy.
Yeah.
So we recognize it. And then, if you're part of the Living in Gratitude Today movement, you have a bunch of tools that you can use that will literally pull you out of a space of, and I say crazy, but I don't mean it like like a space of turmoil or wherever you are. I use crazy as just,
yeah, as a general term. I get it.
Right. Yeah.
Got it. So my next question is, I probably should have started off with this, but what is gratitude? Because a lot of people have different meanings of it. So what is your meaning of gratitude? What does it mean for you?
So it's acknowledging and recognizing that we receive gifts on a regular basis. And that definition is also I took it from Dr. Robert Emmons, and it's acknowledging and recognizing that we receive these gifts from sources outside of ourselves. But I also would add something to that. I think it's important that we recognize and we acknowledge that we are also the source of that good. So it's like these little moments for me that bring me happiness, that bring me joy, that I can feel the energy in my body running through when I call them a moment of gratitude. When something happens or one of my gratitude wins, I can feel it in my body. So it's these moments that are not the norm, that spark up these little feelings inside of me that I know that are different than the regular day. And it's not hocus pocus. It's really about being able to recognize and paying attention to these little special gifts. And for instance, it could be something as simple as, we were talking about going to the store. When I went to the store, the grocery store, I had my headsets in and I was listening to trash novels. And that way, anytime somebody looked at me, I could smile because I was listening to something ridiculous on my headset. I couldn't hear the frustration coming through people. If I got a loaf of bread that I was looking for, I was like, oh, I'm super grateful that I was able to get a loaf of bread. It's like being present to those little gifts that you receive.
Gotcha. And I think that's really important. Not just for the moments that we're in right now, but just going forward and like living in today's world. I hate to say it, but a lot of people are really selfish and they're not really nice. And I somehow I feel like along the way that we forgot manners and just being kind, showing a smile. You don't have to necessarily interact with somebody, but just wave at them, give them a gently smile, and make someone's day, because that could make a difference in everybody else's day. So I'm 100% with you on that. I do wear headphones in the store as well because I can't.
I don't always do it. I just happened to. I could feel the energy, and I was like, I'm not dealing with that. Today I went to the grocery store, and I didn't have headsets in, and I made a conscious effort, like you were saying, to smile at people. A conscious effort to say to the guy in the produce, you know what? Thank you so much for being here and doing your job. And to the cashier, thank you. She was an older woman. I was like, thank you so much for being here. And I thought to myself, I go, wow, these are the warriors right now. These are the people who are taking care of us and who we really need to be expressing our thanks and gratitude to. These are the moments that I'm lucky, even though all my events were canceled, whatever, I'm lucky that I don't have to be out with 1,000 other people.
Right.
So I think that's very important, that we do recognize and smile, and we don't know how far that goes for people. Exactly. I tend to believe, though, for the most part, that people are very kind. You just have to give them the opportunity to show it.
Yes. I am learning that. Actually, I talked about it in one of my church groups. It's, even you may have the thought and the feeling in your heart, but it's how you act on it. And sometimes we're not given the opportunity to show that light. And sometimes you got to kind of dig a little deeper and pull it out. And I'm teaching my daughter that right now. Like she asked me two questions the other day. She's like, why are people homeless? And when is the world going to end? Two random questions. But
very intense and quiz,
yeah,
that shows that she's a great thinker.
Yeah. So I told her, I was like, well, I don't know when the world's going to end, but I know it's going to be for a long time. So she's like, I'm just going to Google it. Okay. And yeah, she Googled it and she's like, oh, it's not going to end for like 5 billion years. I got time. And she just went about her day. And the other one was, why are people homeless? And I told her, well, some people, just they have, they're not really that lucky, or they have situations that happen to them and things happen in life. And she's like, oh, okay, well, next time I see someone and I have extra food, I'm going to give them extra food. So, I think I'm doing a good job. But I feel like, for her to be 9 and actually just want to like help somebody else, I love that about her.
I think that's awesome. Great job to you. And that does definitely say something about your parenting. As somebody who taught high school, it would drive me nuts that I would turn the news on and all you heard about teens did this and teens did that and nothing was positive. And I remember seeing something on Facebook, and it was about a woman who was collecting caps. She's not doing it anymore, but she was collecting the plastic bottle caps. So I said to my kids, listen, what if we took this on? What do you think? And they were like, okay. And I think I had maybe 100, 120 kids in all my classes. And I said, how many do you think we could collect? And they said, about, 500. And I said, 500? I said, that's about 5 caps a person. I go, that's too low. If we're going to do it, let's shoot for something big. Mm-hmm. So they said, I don't remember the number, maybe 5,000, or I pushed them to get to 5,000. And I said, okay, I'll go with 5,000. So if each person brought in 50 caps, we would have 5,000 caps. If I tell you, these kids who had never gotten dressed to go to PE, who had never walked the track because they didn't want to walk the track, started to bring me caps that they found while walking the track in the middle of, the heat, and started bringing me caps to my room. I'm like, what are these? They go, when we were in PE today, we decided to walk, and these are all the caps that we found. By the end of this project, we had over 27 or 37,000 caps. It was a few years ago, so I don't remember. But the point is that when you give them the experience or give them the opportunity to shine, they shine.
Yeah.
It makes them feel good about themselves.
Exactly. So you said that you, before we got on the call and we recorded, you said that you have kids or teenagers practice gratitude. So what are some ways that kids and teenagers can do this?
So with my students, I had them actually, they had to take a look at their life each month and find things that they were grateful for. But like, let's say right now we're sitting in our houses and there's so many things going on and there's so much craziness on the news. I get really frustrated, or we could start to find what are the things that we're grateful for. So if you go online, you can get free admission to they're doing virtual tours on some of the museums. So it's just about shifting our way of seeing things. We talk about, oh my God, I wish I had time to stay home and focus on the things I want to focus on. Well, now we have it, and I find that people are bitching and complaining. So if we shift our focus, right?
Right.
And we start to look for those things, all right, it's a little inconvenient that I can't go out of my house, but what are some of the great things that I'm able to do while I'm here? I can... And for teens especially, they're used to being social. So now instead of being social, I can sleep a little bit later maybe like I like to, and then get up and do my work. So we've got to get them into that habit of looking for the brighter side, and not in the space of being a Pollyanna, but looking like about reframing. We need to teach our kids to reframe. This may not be the ideal situation, but what are some of the benefits? And really getting them to focus on that versus the doom and gloom of, oh my God, I'm stuck in my house and I can't do this. Because some kids are facing some things that are not so pleasant. Like seniors this year, we don't know if they're going to walk in graduation. And that's a real thing. We don't know if they're going to go to some of the senior activities that are already planned. So those are real things that they're feeling. And we get to them to express it. Like I said, don't hold it in, and then find ways that they can shift it. So some of the questions I ask are, what are my gratitude wins? So who or what made a difference for me? What did I do for myself? What did I do for somebody else? Did I do something new? Did I try something new? What made me smile or laugh till my sides hurt? And if we get kids to focus on some of those things, we can get them to start to pay attention and turn their little gratitude, or start to build their gratitude muscles. And it's about constantly saying, so what was the best part of your day today? Maybe they don't understand the word gratitude, or they don't like the word gratitude. Hey, what was the best part of your day today? What was the best thing that happened even though you're stuck in the house?
Right.
What's something that you did that you're proud of? What's somebody else did for you? So I think if we just start to shift the way we ask the questions or the way we look at things, I think that, and kids, they need a little bit of a boost. They need a little bit of reminders. They need a lot of reminders. Let's be real.
Yes.
and the greatest lesson that we can give is by being a model, by being somebody who says, this is the situation. It's not so pleasant all the time, but how can we get through it? I had called my nephew the other day and I said, I miss you. I want to see you. And he's like, well, come over. And I have like a little bit of a cough. It's my allergies, but I don't want everybody freaking out. So I'm staying home. But I didn't talk to him for a day. And he called me up today and he's like, Titi, he's like, when I finish my homework, let's do our dance party we talked about. So I don't know how it's going to work. I'm going to maybe turn the TV on, have him on FaceTime with me. We'll put the music on and we'll dance. We'll do something to create, to move the energy a little bit. So I think that we just have to get creative, and we have to, as adults, show the kids that, and as adults, we have to be the ones practicing gratitude and reframing situations and not staying in doom and gloom and not staying in, and I'm not making light of people who are really going through hard times financially. I'm not saying that, what you're experiencing is not real. It absolutely is. And at the same time, how do we find something to be grateful for? And the truth is that we just have to keep looking.
Yeah, I totally agree. I didn't make a joke, but I said to one of my friends, and I was like, well, this is kind of what the future looks like if we didn't have physical stores and, physical products and things. So I feel like this is kind of like everybody's taste of the future. So I'm like, just think of it that way, try to make a situation not so scary, but so they can kind of adapt to what's going on. I love that you said that we have to kind of like ask our kids, or especially teenagers and our kids, what the best part of their day is, because one that for me that that has interaction with your kid. So if you don't interact with your kid all day, let's just say this because we get it, you work from home, your kid does their thing, you're doing your thing. But, you can come together at the end of the day and kind of ask, like, what was the best part of your day? I know for my daughter, it was like she got to play her Roblox game on her iPad. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. What did you do? And she's like, oh, they went to school. They did this. And that was the highlight for her day. For me, I see it as too much screen time. But, for her, it was the best thing that ever happened to her all day long. So,
right.
It's one of those things where like sometimes it may not be what you like as a parent, but it's a win for them and it made them feel comfortable, made them feel good. Not encouraging bad behavior though, but something that was positive that kept them out of trouble. And I like that. So I like that you said that.
I think that what you said is absolutely right. It may not be perfect for us, but for right now it's perfect for them, and that keeps them in that good space. I was on a Facebook group the other day, and it was yesterday, and I you may want to try this because it was so funny, and it will give moms a great space to just crack up. So somebody says, okay, so your kids are home all day. And we're going to talk about them. Like, what did your kids do? But you're going to talk about them as your coworkers. So you're going to say, my coworkers did this. And it was hysterical. It was so funny reading through some of them. I'm telling you, I laughed out loud. So before I went to bed yesterday, I was hysterical reading some of the things. And I know that for the parents, they weren't as funny, but as they weren't my kids. So, but as somebody from the outside, it was just a great way for parents to kind of like decompress and, laugh about it. So I will share, some of the things that people said later, but it was so funny. And you may want to ask that to your group, like, how did your children, behave today? But talk about them as coworkers. And at one point, one of the moms goes, yeah, and he told me to go get him lunch. So I guess he's my manager, really, not my coworker.
Oh, that's hilarious.
It is, and there's some really cool things that you can do as a family because of this. There's a lot of, and I'll be happy to share them with you. There's a 30 or more virtual field trips that you can take with your kids. So if you have a smart TV, you could go online, do it on, as a family, visit some of the museums maybe, or some of the natural, the national parks, or some of the different zoos have things going on where they're showing you the animals. So there's some really cool things that you can do as a family that you may not have been able to do if you were not all locked up in the house. Exactly. So we get to take a positive spin on it. We get to go on vacation while sitting at our house. Yeah. There are Broadway musicals that are being streamed online that we get to watch that we might not have been able to see.
That is very true. I read this morning that Disneyland is offering a virtual tour of Disneyland, which is cool. And they have like the rides like Space Mountain and stuff like that. So I was thinking about setting something up in the living room like tonight with my daughter and like, making it all dark and spooky in the house.
That would be super fun.
And going on the ride. So it's just, it's this time as a parent to interact with your child. And I say be grateful that this even happened, because honestly, if this would have never happened, I think we would still be doing our day-to-day functions and kind of like, doing our routine and not really being present. So I kind of look at that as, a win.
It absolutely is, and it's a great opportunity for us to slow down. And again, I want to say this and be very mindful of the people who are in industries that are shut down, that are freaking out. I get it. Yeah. But it was a way to refocus. Like, I never in a million years, and I think that's also kind of another thing that I'm grateful for, that I never in a million years thought that this would ever happen. Ever. That I would be living in the United States on lockdown, where you can't leave, it's not that bad, but you can't leave your house, or you're told not to leave your house, where I would go to the store and there were no rolls of toilet paper. Like, I never in a million years thought that would happen. I lived through Andrew. We lost our house in Andrew. And it brings back that things are things, but what's the most important is the people that we have around us.
Exactly. I love that you said that, because things are things, and we put too much value and importance on things, and really they can go away like in an instant. So yeah. Well, do you have anything else to touch on about the gratitude aspect before we take a commercial break?
I think, as we go through these next 2 weeks and the unknown sets in, just to really focus and it's about training your brain when that monkey mind sets in. Find one thing that you can do that makes you feel good. Because when you're feeling the monkey mind and feeling crazy, your kids are feeling it too.
Nice. Love it. Well, Hey peeps, while we're taking a quick break from the podcast episode, my question to you is, have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? Well, I had that same question, and I have an answer for that. So when I was trying to get this podcast off the ground, I had a lot of questions. I mean, too many questions to count. How do I record an episode, for example? How do I get my show into all the apps that people like to listen to, like Google, Spotify, all those places? How do I make money from this podcast? Like, I think that's most of the goal for most people. The answer to every one of these questions is really simple. Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. Best of all, it's 100% free. I'm going to say that one more time. 100% free. And ridiculously easy to use. And now Anchor can match you with great sponsors who want to advertise on your podcast. This means you can get paid to podcast right away. In fact, that's what I'm doing right now by reading this ad. I love Anchor so much. It's so easy. I can use it from my mobile phone, or I can actually use it from my desktop computer. It's perfect for those conversations on the go, or those last minute scheduling podcast episodes with guests. So if you've always wanted to start a podcast and make money by doing it, go to anchor.fm/start. Again, that's anchor.fm/start to join me and the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to listen to your podcast episodes. Back to the show.
Perfect. So, what is the best thing that happened to you this week?
We got a dog.
Nice.
Yes, we got a dog. Her name is Nala. She is 2 years old, and she is a lab and German Shepherd mix.
Oh, fun.
Yes, she's so, I don't know, lovely. Like, she's like a big fur baby. We already have a cat. And the funny thing is, she's scared of the cat. So that's it's usually supposed to be the opposite way. The cat's supposed to be afraid of the dog, but the dog is afraid of the cat. So it's really fun in our household right now.
And then they'll be friends sooner or later.
They're kind of in the same space right now, but they're just, I think it's the cat. She's just like, oh, she's way bigger, and she's making all these sudden movements at me. I don't like this. So
I'm sure. So my next question is, do you have a gratitude practice? And if you do, share it with us.
Right now, my gratitude practice is writing down in my journal of what went wrong and how I cannot dwell on it the next day, and what went good. I know we talked about it like during our interview and everything like that previously, but at night I'm actually praying for other people, not just myself and my situations, and just putting my energy out into other things besides myself. So
I love that. I love that. And how long have you been doing that?
I've been doing it for about 3 weeks now.
Okay.
So it's getting there. I feel better that I'm actually like praying for other people, especially I hate to do this, but she's probably listening, but my friend her daughter's actually in the hospital. She had 3 brain aneurysms, and I was kind of like, oh, that's weird. She was just, playing the other day, but it actually made me take a step back, because that could be my daughter, and it could be anybody else close to me besides my friend, kid, and I'm not praying for them. I'm not, pumping energy into them. I'm not sending them good vibes or whatever you guys believe in. And it just made me stop and think, like, I need to be grateful for my daughter's health, my husband's health, and I need to be grateful for other people who are still technically in my life right now, and I need to pray for them. So
very nice. I love that. I love that. Do you and your daughter ever talk about like the best things that happen? Like, I know you asked her yesterday. Is that a common practice?
I try to ask her without because she's in a preteen phase right now. So literally me asking her if she even put on underwear is So I try not to bug her, but I do kind of oh, well, how's your day going? Or, what's going on? Just to kind of pull something out of her so I know she's having an okay day or a bad day. But sometimes when we actually do spend time together, I do ask her oh, what was the best part of your day today? Or are you having a good day? You want to do something? Or are you good with how everything's going with right now? So I try to just ask her, because without, I get the claws every time I ask her a question. And
and then my teacher side comes out and goes, too bad.
Right. I don't know who said toddlers and babies are worse, because I feel like teenagers are.
Oh. So I think middle school is the worst. I substituted in middle school, but I taught high school for 20 years, like I said. I think that in middle school the aliens take over, and then somewhat in high school you start to get them back. After high school they're back. But and I'll just share this with you. I know I'm supposed to be asking you questions, but one of the really powerful things that I had my students do is they had to keep a list of 20 things that they were grateful for each month. And it was funny because in the beginning they were they thought I was the dumbest person that ever walked the earth. I'm not doing this. This is stupid. Are you crazy? Blah, blah, blah. And by the end of the year, what they started to realize is that all of these, they had so much to be grateful for. They just never focused on it. So even though she gets upset and frustrated or doesn't want to hear it, I think, kudos to you. Keep asking those questions, because the more you ask, the more she starts to reflect. And that's not your problem. If she gets upset, that's her problem.
I've been saying that. I'm like, well, fine then. Go to your room and just be alone. I'm just trying to interact with you. Well, fine. It's I'm ready to find a farm somewhere and send her. But I love her, and she's my child, but she's also like you said, the aliens come in, they take over, and I'm ready to send her with the aliens. But you guys can have her.
I get it. I hear you. I hear you.
Yeah. It's crazy.
I don't have any other questions for you.
Okay. That's perfectly fine. So actually I have a couple more. Where can people find you? 1, and 2, what are you grateful for? How are you showing gratitude in your life?
Okay, so people can find me at livingingratitudetoday.com, or you can text the word grateful to 64600. And what am I grateful for? What is the best thing that happened to me this week? Like I said, realizing or finding ways to deal with whatever's going on. Like, I was anxious yesterday, and acknowledging and recognizing it, and then getting online and doing a dance or doing something, or, you know, sharing that real side of me that sometimes, as an entrepreneur, as a leader, as a gratitude gangster, it's a little challenging to get up and say, well, I'm not feeling good today, because I feel like I'm expected to always feel positive and joyful because I have this gratitude movement. So being real with my emotions and sharing that with people is a very big positive for me. Even though I can't see my mother because she's in a nursing home and she's quarantined, I spoke to her yesterday, and when I talked to her, I almost cried because she sounded so happy. Like, she sounded like she was having the time of her life. And normally, you know, when I talk to her, she's like, I need this and I need this and I need this. And yesterday she was in a really, really great space. And as far as how I practice gratitude, I've really trained my brain to constantly look for things to be grateful for, and I'm finding them all the time. But the key for me is, and I don't do this 100% of the time, which I'm getting back into. I'm telling the truth on myself, is really writing them down, because I'm not going to remember in 3 months how fantastic it felt to hear my mother's voice yesterday, and hearing her so excited and so happy, and so, like, I was almost in tears.
Yeah.
It was such a nice experience. So when I hang up the phone with you, I'm going to write it down, because I want to be able to remember her in that space, versus, you know, next time she calls me up screaming and bitching because she's out of cigarettes. So I'm going to go back in my gratitude journal and go, oh my God, remember on St. Patrick's Day, how delicious it was to talk to her, you know?
Yes, I like that. I don't have anybody in a nursing home or anything like that, but I did check on my mom. As most of my listeners know, I don't really talk to my mom that often because of the toxicity of our relationship. But I checked on her. It made me cry for a second. But you know, I was like, that's good. Even if she was to like go tomorrow, at least I called her. You know, like I
Right.
talked to her, so I felt good about that. And like I've been wanting to talk to her for like a couple days, but I couldn't bring myself past the anger and the hurt a little bit to even pick up the phone. But then I really sat down. I was like, you know what? If I don't call her and something bad happens, I'm gonna feel really even worse. So let me at least call her, check on her, and see if she needs anything. And if she doesn't, then cool, you know. But
Right.
at least I did that.
And I get it. I have a very interesting relationship with my mother as well. It's not, you know, the normal relationship. I take care of her for longer than I think at this point she's taking care of me. She's bipolar, and when she wants something, and I'm supposed to stop and drop everything I'm doing to go take care of it and handle it. So I get it.
Yeah.
And I'm working and practicing every day to try and find a way to not get charged and to not get reactive every time I see her. So I totally understand that, and I ask myself, God, what lesson am I supposed to be learning right now? What are you teaching me? What are you teaching me? What am I supposed to be learning? Because parents, you know, if you don't have that wonderful relationship that we all dream and hope for, it can be challenging.
Exactly. Yeah, it's tough, especially in these times right now. But I do say for our listeners, you know, just try to see the good in your day, regardless of your situation. It's something that I've learned to do. I know Vismaya can totally agree with me on this. Just find something good in your day, because that's what you probably could focus on to make your day even better and pull yourself out of the negative and, you know, downward spiral that you're going through.
And if you can't find something positive, do something positive. And if that means, you know, getting up and walking for 5 minutes because that makes you feel good, get up and walk for 5 minutes. Get up and dance for whatever it is, do something that you know is going to make you feel good.
Exactly. Well, thank you, Vismaya, for coming on today and recording with me. And hopefully our listeners got something out of this. Can you just tell them where they can find you one more time for me, and we'll wrap it up?
Absolutely. Living in gratitude today. So gratitude is GRATITUDE. So that's livingingratitudetoday.com. Or you can text the word grateful, GRATEFUL, to the number 64600.
Yes. And if you guys want the information, it'll be in the show notes as well, and as well as on social media when this episode does come out. Vismaya, thank you so much for coming on today and recording with me. And hopefully our listeners got something good out of this, and they feel good about this episode, and hopefully you like being on.
Super excited that we got to have this chat today, and I know that people got something out of this. I know that they did. It's about gratitude. It's about feeling good. So of course they're going to pick something up.
Right? Well, thank you so much. Make sure you guys go check her out, and make sure you guys like and subscribe to this podcast as well, and share it with your friends and family. It helps me get better responses from you guys and to grow this podcast. We are in season 2, so obviously what you guys have been doing has been working, so keep it up. All right. Hey, before you go, I just want to say thank you for tuning in today's episode. And also, if you haven't already, like and subscribe, and make sure you comment and leave a rating for the podcast. Have a good one, you guys.